Hello and welcome to the Wandering Mom podcast, where I share my journey of wandering back into a life that's mine again. So on today's episode, we're going to talk about Zone 2 relating to permaculture, emotional permaculture in this case, and the winter holidays. Have you ever noticed that winter does something to people? And you probably have. It's sort of a rhetorical question, but maybe it's our ancient DNA, maybe it's the cold temperatures, maybe it's the lack of sunlight or diminished sunlight. Maybe it's just the emotional extraness of the holidays. It's different to me because when I lived in California, we didn't really have four seasons. We had tolerable and intolerable. And up here in Washington, I get all four seasons, and when winter hits, and it's been a wet fall too, something about winter just changes people. The energy changes and people get interesting. Something I found really helpful after I had filed for divorce was going back to my roots of permaculture. And permaculture is a design science that deals with the garden, homesteading, and resiliency and sustainability. And in this case, the sustainability I needed was emotional, relational, identity permaculture, things relating to mind, body, and soul instead of something that's external like the garden, the homestead, and the building and stuff like that. And so, depending on how you look at psychology, there's this theory in psychology called choice theory, reality theory. And it's, in a nutshell, how satisfied you are with the relationships in your life. And in going back to college, we studied like 13, 14 different styles of therapy, theories of therapy. And choice theory, I didn't think I would like, but I actually do. And so this concept of relationships in your life and how satisfied you are with your life and the problems in your life is dependent on your relationships and how you handle those relationships. And it's not just talking about intimate relationships. This is parents, extended family, friends, coworkers, community, rage baiting on the highway, all of those relationships and how you handle those. And so taking permaculture and turning it into relational permaculture helped me to help reclaim my identity and who I was after divorcing my alcoholic ex-husband. And in permaculture, there's 12 principles. There's a whole variety of tools that you can use within this design science. One of those is something called the zones. And these are like eco zones. So zone 0 would be your house. Zone 0 would be the things that you walk by every day due to your daily life. So if let's say you have a job, you pull up in your driveway when you come home, you walk up to the house, and everything that you pass by on the way from the driveway to the house is zone 1. And so it's not like a circle right outside of your house, because you may never go to the side of your house ever. Maybe you don't go in the back of the house all the time. Maybe you do. I don't know. It's really unique to the individual. And so zone 1 is things you pass by every day as part of your daily life. Zone 2 in permaculture is sort of the workhorse of your garden, the perennials, really the support stuff that lasts years and years and years. Things that don't need as much attention as zone 1. You put the things in zone 1 that need a lot of attention. So like annuals, if you're going to grow in your front yard, tomatoes, things like that need attention, weeding, more water, more pruning, things like that. And zone 2, you would put perennials. And then it just goes out from there, 3 and 4 or 5. So in relational permaculture, zone 0 is your psyche, your body, your mind, your spirit, all those things. And zone 1 is the part that needs more attention in your life because they are important to you. So kids, spouse, um, your coworkers, maybe. It depends on how important your coworkers are to you, your boss. I don't know. Um, and you deal with on a regular basis. So you can nurture those relationships on a regular basis, daily. Um, and then zone two is the support system that helps you up over the years. So family that you like, but maybe not in your immediate household. Chosen family. My besties are my chosen family. Some of my coworkers are my chosen family at this point in time. Community, things that you're a part of. Those would all be on your zone two. Like one of my community is the online one of my online prepper communities that I'm a part of. And so I would consider those zone two. And then of course there's 3, 4, and 5. So today we're talking about zone two. But before we get into the main topic, let's dive into what's been happening this week. Got 2 segments for you: back to school and parenting. We will start with back to school. Back to school is for me. I'm going back to school, back to college for addiction studies. I've gone to school on and off over the years, but this is the first time I've taken a full course load, full time back to school, and it's for my bachelor's degree. Everything else has been for my associate's degree, so this has been more involved, I would say. And it's finals week, so I've been dealing with final papers and final exams, and I gotta tell you, I would much prefer a 100 question, 500 question final exam over having to put a thought process in, develop a thesis, evaluate, analyze, reflect, any other thing that goes along with writing a paper. I don't want to write any more papers. I don't want to put together any more presentations. I was up till midnight on Sunday night finalizing the presentation that I apparently got an A in, and I am shocked. I got 100%. I am shocked because I thought I half-assed it. And I think part of that reason is because when you've gone so long of being married to, when I went so long with being married to a alcoholic husband, my choices were always questioned. My decisions were weaponized against me. If I wanted ice cream or chocolate, the oh, so you're having chocolate. That's just a very simplified example. And so when my instructor says that I did exceptionally well as part of his comments, it sort of shocked me. And I was like, dude, I definitely did not do 100% worth of what you're saying is exceptional. No sir. I may have met the rubric uh, requirements and the grading matrix, but uh there are things that I could have done better. And so that was not exceptional. uh but apparently it was. So I'm proud of myself and a little bit in disbelief. And that's just part of the journey of figuring out and learning to accept compliments as being sincere and not having um, ulterior, alternative motives. The second item is parenting. So my son, he is 16 years old, bless his heart, um, went out and bought himself his own burner phone. He didn't like that I kept the iPhone from him, and so he sold some of his Pokemon cards and basically said bet and went out and bought his own phone. He's also not allowed to have social media, and that's one of the reasons why I took the iPhone away. And he promptly installed TikTok and Snapchat on his burner phone. And I only found out about it because I saw this Motorola in the list of Wi-Fi devices on my internet account, my app, to be able to shut off Wi-Fi for individual devices. So that happened, and I know lots of people say just take it away, ground him, remove, issue consequences, and We're talking about a 16-year-old here, and there are very few things that actually meet a consequence with this child. He's been grounded for 2 weeks for like 6 months, and he hasn't even fulfilled it. He just takes off with his friends as soon as his chores are done, which chores he only does half-ass. So I decided to lean into it. If I really need to do consequences with him, there it's easy. He's still got his permit, so mommy ain't gonna let him drive. He won't get any drive hours. I can take away Wi-Fi, and that's about it. That's about all that I can actually enforce. Because when it comes down to it, you're not allowed to duct tape your children to the wall to keep them in the house for grounding purposes. Because one, you're gonna have to feed them. Two, CPS and sometimes men's with guns show up, and I don't really want to deal with that. I just don't. So it's Wi-Fi and driving privileges, and that's what matters the most to him. So I will take what I can. But I've also learned, now he has ADHD, so does his sister, and I've also learned that leaning into the social media at this point in time, because he's 16, I there's a fine line between being 16 and being a 16-year-old with ADHD, and with that emotional intelligence is not as high as non-neurodivergent individuals at this point in time. And so I question his able to make mature choices on not showing his face and stuff. And he's actually proving to be very good at that. And while I don't mind showing my face, I want to limit them. My face wasn't plastered all over the internet when I was a teenager. And I would prefer not to have his. And there's a lot of cyberbullying on social media. And so neither of my kids are allowed, except he is now. So I let him teach me how to use Snapchat, even though I am not technologically inept. I let him teach me how to use Snapchat. And he shows me all the videos that he's editing and the cool templates that he finds. And this past week, I went with him and he wanted some night photos taken. So I went and took my iPhone and took some photos and edited them and sent them to him through Snapchat, because this burner phone he has only has the capabilities for apps and Wi-Fi and stuff like that. It has no cellular service. He has no minutes on it. He has an Apple Watch that he can call his friends and text his friends on that. So the burner phone was strictly for apps and social media, so he could get away with that process, I guess. So yeah, I've leaned into it, and it's actually been a better bonding experience, I guess, for the two of us. He sends me things on Snapchat, edits that he's done. It's pretty fun. It's pretty cool, and I'm just like, okay, that's fine. That's fine. We'll do that. And the night photos, he's wearing a hoodie and he's got his mask on and he's all mysterious and stuff. So this mom is absolutely fine with that. All right, on to the episode. Zone 2. Okay, so what is Zone 2 relational permaculture? These are your low drama, deep trust people. These are the people who are your chosen family. These are the friends who you can go a month without talking to, or even longer, and you pick right back up when you meet up with them again. Like you never had that space apart and that time apart. This is that sisterhood, the women who back you up and hold you up when you need them. They're the ones who hold space without fixing you or feeding off of you. These are the people in your life who don't require performance. You can literally be yourself and you won't get questioned on that. Those are the Zone 2 people who, those are the kinds of people who should be in Zone 2. And during winter, your Zone 2 people are absolutely necessary, because winter has a tendency to bring out the best or the worst in people. And so if you've got people in your life who drain you, who smother you, who guilt trip you, who can't handle your identity change or you wanting to reclaim your identity and become a different, better version of who you were. And I bet if you sat down and thought about some of those people who meet those descriptions, you would be able to come up with a person probably pretty easily, probably immediately, maybe two people, maybe more. But in contrast, winter also reveals people who reach out, people who check in, people who honor your boundaries, and people who see your growth and love the illumination, the light, the way you're going about things, the person you're becoming. Those are the people you want in your zone 2. Now, you might be saying, Tori, that sounds a lot like my bestie. Shouldn't my bestie be in zone 1? But you're saying to put bestie in zone 2. Yes, bestie belongs in zone 2. Let me tell you why. Zone 1 is the place where you are having to connect with, nurture, converse with, communicate, deal with people on a regular daily basis. This is a recurring daily basis or almost daily. And so just like in the ecosystem of zone 1 where you pass by it every single day, you're going through there every single day and you want to place your plants where you're going every single day anyways. Zone 1 is the people that you are going to encounter every single day and likely the people you are going to have to nurture every single day. Our besties don't necessarily need us every single day. They know we're there. One of my besties is 3 hours drive away. The other bestie is a 3-hour flight away. And I talk to them on a periodic basis. We can pick right up where we left off. We are all, my two besties also know each other and they're friends, but they're not besties with each other. But we're all very communicative, very in sync with each other. And now it's going to be me. No, is that Backstreet Boys? Wow, you can tell I am not a millennial. Anyway, so your bestie belongs in zone 2 because zone 1 doesn't require a person to be important to be in zone 1. It's how often you interact with them. And yes, your kids are important. And yes, your partner may be important if you haven't divorced them. You may have a new partner. What am I talking about? You could still have a partner and be divorced. But some partners we regularly converse with. Some kids we regularly converse with. You might have kids that are adults. So maybe they've moved out of your zone 1. But saying that we don't converse with our besties on a daily basis doesn't mean we can't. We can. In my case, with my besties, there are times where I need them daily. There was a time a couple years ago that I needed to talk to, and I did talk to one of my besties every single night. And so there are going to be times where your bestie may need to talk to you daily. And they did. They talked to me daily for 5 months trying to heal a broken heart that I had. So it is possible that you still talk to your bestie because you need them or they need you to nurture them. But I would put my besties in, I would put my besties in zone 2. So with all that said, you don't have to appear at any event or gathering during the holidays. Not Christmas Eve, not Christmas Day. You can just take that shit and compost it. You can compost the chaos, the trauma, and the drama. Just throw it in the compost pile. Let's go back to zone 0 for a minute. Zone 0 is you. You are the most important prep. I heard that quote from Andy McCann. He did a whole presentation on it. And if we're going to put people from zone 3, zone 4, zone 5, and if we move them up to zone 2 and zone 1, well, we're going to have a problem. Your zone 0 suffers when you decide out of guilt or obligation that zones 3, 4, and 5 need to be leveled up and moved up to zones 1 and 2. We just can't do that with relationships. If we go back to those descriptors in that list of the people who smother us or sustain us, if we're going to put people who smother us in zone 2 and zone 1, absolutely zone 0 suffers. As a matter of fact, we risk allowing people to be treated as our zone 0 when we change up their level of importance and their level of interaction, when we move them up levels, when we move them up through the zones. We risk putting them as zone 0. But there's only room for one person in zone 0. That's us. So what happens when we allow someone else to take that level of importance as the zone 0? Well, we get kicked out. We kick ourselves out of our own zone 0 when we grant people permission to stomp on our boundaries, to add drama and trauma and chaos to our lives. If we are grown ass adults, that drama and that trauma is on us. And as a person who, as a grown ass adult, allowed and stayed with an alcoholic, once it reached that level, now, of course, alcoholism is a progressive disease. I am not going to sit here and blame wives and partners of alcoholics who didn't know that shit was creeping up on them. It creeps up and you don't even realize that it's happening until you're in the thick of it. But once you become aware that that is the bullshit that's going on, it's on you. And yes, they are responsible for them. We have to find a way to detach and to get the fuck out. And that could be getting out physically, getting a job and getting out financially, emotionally. That's detachment. All the different levels of capitalism, social, financial, emotional, there's all kinds of capitalism in our lives. Figuring out that's on us. I am a single mom now to 2 teenagers, and they are as expensive as hell. And I am not free from debt. So we struggle, but we would be struggling 10 times more if we had to deal with his bullshit. So what happens to us when we kick ourselves out of our zone 0? What happens to our mind, body, soul, our psyche, our spirit, our spiritual relationship? What happens to all of that? Our health, when we kick ourselves out of zone 0, when we don't put on our own oxygen mask. A whole bunch of bullshit. That's what happens. That's what did happen. To me, at least. I don't know about any of you specifically, but if I know anything after being in the groups online with other wives of alcoholics, is that they all have the same playbook. And we all feel gaslit and psychologically abused, and some of us, a lot of us, physically abused as well. I was not. But that psychological abuse fucks with your head. And that's why I'm on my own personal mission to become unfuckwithable. And that's what this whole thing's about. Showing you all my journey so that maybe something resonates with you so that you can become unfuckwithable as well. And now I've said the word fuck more times. YouTube's gonna do something with this, I'm sure. Well, if you're not sure about feeling guilty about going to any holiday gatherings, about accepting any invites or declining any invites, I want you to ask yourself this. Does this gathering meet my needs? Yes or no? And then the next question is how and why. If it does not meet your needs, well, there's your answer, don't go. But if you say yes, that this gathering does meet your needs, How does it meet your needs? Why does it meet your needs? Because you can't just tell yourself yes and not have the evidence to back yourself up. You need to know why you picked a reason, why you picked yes or no, why you made that decision, why you made that choice. You need to know why, because we don't want to do things as just automatic habits. We don't want to do things, we don't want to just make choices and decisions because of past automatic habits and behaviors and patterns, because our old identity would have done that. And if we're reclaiming our identity and we're reclaiming boundaries, we're trying to get out of the trauma and the drama and the chaos, then we need to really think and purposely be mindful of the decisions that we are making until they become new habits. And those needs for that holiday gathering might be something simple as just wanting to go and have fun. Perfect. Cool. There's a whole bunch of other reasons. Love, belonging, friendship. You just want to hang out. You want to get out of the house. You want to get out of the chaos of your own house. Maybe it's dirty and cluttered because you've been doing all these crafts and wrapping all these papers and cooking all this food. Or maybe you've just been having a hard time in the house. Maybe you just need to get out and have different scenery and go hang out with people, and this sort of forces you to do so. But so long as they don't bring the trauma and the drama and the chaos, don't go to those places. Don't show up. Because if it's not for love, for friendship, for belonging, to get out of the house, then you're saying yes and you are approving that invitation out of guilt and obligation. And this applies if you're a dude too. There are a lot of healthy men out there who are needing a permission slip themselves to say no. Dudes, my man, don't go. Don't go. If you have a wife or children who don't like a particular person and you're forcing them to go along because obligation and guilt, don't go. Don't make your family go. You don't have to. Just stop that. Now, let's say you declined an invitation and you have said no thank you. And the person says, why? Or why? No is a complete sentence. No thank you is a polite. Well, no is also polite too. But if you want to be extra and add in that stuff where you don't have to, no thank you is perfectly fine. But if you feel the need that you need to give more reasons, let me give you some examples. You could say, I'm keeping it simple. I'm having a quiet holiday. We're having a quiet holiday. We're not attending big events this year. No, we're not attending big events this year. No, thank you. You could also say, as a follow up or as a reason, I'll catch you after the holidays. I still love you. Or, hear me out, some people would consider this a little drastic. If they still don't take your no and they still don't take your reason why and they don't like your answer, you could just not go. Just don't show up. Just don't go. You could do that. It's okay. I give you permission. I mean nothing in your life, but you don't have to go. So, are you still feeling guilty? I'm guessing it's a yes. I'm guessing the thought of declining an invite to a gathering with some toxic people is making you feel guilty. And you still haven't gotten rid of that. That's okay. Let's talk about composting that guilt. I've learned that the best way to get yourself back and to actually stay rooted in that identity that you're rebuilding for yourself is to stop treating guilt like a moral compass. Your value and your morals should not be controlled by guilt. Instead, let's start treating that guilt like organic waste. And if we think about organic waste, it's waste. So it only serves you when it's thrown in that compost. It only serves you when it's thrown in that compost pile and it's left alone. Maybe you occasionally turn it, maybe you occasionally add some moisture to it, which is what we would do with zones 3, 4, and 5, right? We still interact with those relationships and those people. It's just less. But to get to compost, to get to that rich soil, to get to a point where you're not dreading the relationship because you only show up out of guilt or obligation. If you want relationships with people where you enthusiastically want to hang out, but you just don't want to do it all the time, you want to do it on a less frequent basis because, these people are exhausting. Or there are people you have just cut off and you don't want to go. That's fine too. But if we're talking about composting relationships and we wanted to get to something that's really rich, like the soil that you get, the humus that you get after all that organic waste has been composted, then we leave it be. And we occasionally treat it as a zone 3, 4, and 5 appropriately. Now, I don't know if you've ever tried taking a heaping shovelful of compost or soil or even snow. Your shovel's very heavy. It's hard to lift. It's awkward. Sometimes it might tip or fall. And it's just not something you can handle that well. And if this is the case with telling your relationships that you don't want to go to a gathering, to a get together, because it seems like it's this big, huge mass that you have to shovel, start with something smaller. Turn your compost soil with little smaller bits of lighter shovel loads at a time. So decline something that's not as important. Decline something that's not as big of a deal. If you are always saying yes to your own detriment, start with something smaller. And if you're used to saying yes to smaller things, start with the medium stuff if the big thing still feels like no. And you learn, because all this theory, all this talking, and all this ideas in your head and imagining yourself, sure, that's great. But until you do the actual work, you're never going to build that muscle. You're never going to build the muscles to be able to do the bigger shovelfuls. You only sit there with the weak muscles and that weak identity, and you won't have that strong new reclaimed identity. So you got to go and practice these things. You can't just think about them. You can't just read about them. You can't just watch me on this podcast or any other YouTube videos or listening or anything like that, or reading a book, whatever resource there is. That's great to help you what to do when you have no idea what words to say. But you still got to go and practice it. You still got to go do the thing. You got to get shit done. If we're talking about GSD groups in permaculture and prepping and stuff like that, with getting homesteads ready, you have to do that with your zone 0 too. You have to do that with your mind, body, and soul. Promise me, you will try. Okay. Now, I'm not saying not to show up to Christmas Day or Christmas Eve. I can hear all the mothers-in-laws right now. I can hear the grandmas. What do you mean? They just don't have to show up. That's not what I'm talking about. I am talking about if you are accepting an invitation out of guilt or obligation, that is what I am talking about. If you want to go, go. Don't decline Christmas and Christmas Eve just because I said not to, because that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying you decline that shit if it's out of guilt or obligation. But if we want to go, hell yeah, go. Have fun, girl. Have a blast. Wear the stupidest freaking outfit you possibly can. Or look your bestest and all dressed up because you ain't got nowhere else to do that with. Do it. Have a great time. Please. I don't want to hear any grandmas or mothers-in-laws or grandpas from their lazy chairs with their beer. What do you mean they're not coming? I'm over exaggerating. And for reference, my ex mother-in-law is not that person. So if you're watching, and if you do go, send me a picture on socials. Send me something on socials. I want to see it. You can DM me. You can post a reply in some random post I have on Instagram or Threads. Tag me somewhere. Actually, I don't think you can tag me on Instagram, but post it and send it to me. I want to see. I want to see your holiday get-togethers. If you had a good time, I want to see your holiday get-togethers. And if you dressed all crazy because I said so, definitely send me something. I can't wait to see it. This winter, I want you to choose the places that sustain you and not the places that smother you. Choose the zone 2 people that sustain you. The low drama, the family, the chosen family, those folks that lift you up and support, whether they know it or not, support your new identity that you're trying to rebuild. And not the people who make you have to perform or make you have to earn it. Most importantly, choose yourself. Choose your energy, choose your peace, choose that identity that you are rebuilding in your life. Speaking of socials, you can find me on 3 platforms, all under Tori the Wandering Ma. I am on YouTube, Instagram, and Threads. So I hope you go find me. And if you find me, you get bonus points for posting something completely unrelated to one of my posts. The bonus points do nothing for you. But if I have some food thing and you're going to talk about going on a hike, girl, do it. Comment in some random place on one of my socials. I'll see it. I look at my notifications. All right. This is just your reminder also to find that 1% in your life to level up. Don't forget, daily, because that's all that matters. 1% is all that matters. I'll catch you next time.